And we are live. Okay, guys, this is so bittersweet. First of all, it has been an incredible summer, absolutely incredible summer, full of amazing guest speakers. So I first of all want to say thank you to all of our guest speakers that we've had. Everyone from KT Martin to LaFrida last week to Shauna and Stephanie. I mean, we just had I could not have asked for a better lineup. It was absolutely incredible. So thank you to all of our speakers, and thank you to all of you that have joined us week in and week out. I really hope that I know that you've benefited from it. So thank you for joining us. And tonight we might say I saved the best for the last because we have a soon to be national sales director, like very, very soon to be national sales director. So I'm surprised she even said yes, because she is so incredibly busy finishing this area. So I'm excited to introduce you to the one, the only Pam Garner Moore, and tell you a little bit more about her Mary Kay journey before I bring her on. Okay, so Pam, and how Pam and I met, I don't even know how we officially met. I think we were just friends on Facebook, right? And then
I think so.
schooling kind of brought us together. I think, yeah.
Or Sean, maybe Sean.
Sean, yeah, Sean will do that. Sean Key will have he'll say you need to be friends with this person.
Yes.
For that, he's like a matchmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And then she homeschools her daughter, and we homeschool our son. It was our first year last year, and then also Pam has gone through an adoption process, and Cody and I are going through an adoption process, and so she's been such a great resource for me, and so we just became fast friends, kind of on those just similar life happenings. So I love that Mary Kay brings us people that are just blessings in our lives and add so much to our lives. So I am grateful for Pam more than just Mary Kay wise. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She started Mary Kay one day before her 19th birthday as a senior in college. She became a director and earned her first Premier car at 20. At that time in Mary Kay, there were no consultant cars. Mary Kay has been her only career. So think about that, you guys. Those of you that are 19, 20 years old, that's going to be the boat that I was in, because I started when I was 20, where Mary Kay literally is the only career you ever have. You know, that says so much about our company that literally Pam has dedicated her life to this company. She loves it that much. Okay. She's earned 19 cars. The most recent, she's lost track, is either 13 or 14 pink Cadillacs. What a great problem to have. She's earned 4 top sales director trips. Her highest check has been over $16,000. She is the daughter of her senior director, which is Ruby Garner, who's a future executive senior sales director, and a single mom to Riley Grace, which we also both have RGs, Reagan Grace, Riley Grace. So we have that in common too, who just graduated high school, and she began her Mary Kay career. Grateful and so excited to be finishing and beginning the Bold National area, which is so, so excited. So you guys, just think about that. Her Mary Kay journey has allowed her to homeschool her daughter. They've gotten to travel all over the world, all over the country, all over the place. And I love that flexibility. So please help me with a virtual welcome, which is me. Yay! For Pam. Take it away, Pam.
Oh, thank you, Leah. Oh, guys, when I was thinking about the fact that I was the last one, it's just like Leah said, haven't we had such an amazing lineup? I've looked forward to this every Sunday night, and so many of the women that spoke are my close personal friends, and the other ones are just people that I want to be their friend. I always say, I'll just creep on you until I make you my friend. So I actually typed up some notes, which I rarely do because I just felt really scattered. Like I posted about a week ago on Instagram. Everybody's posted it. Wasn't original to me, but you know how I don't have ducks. I don't have a row. I have squirrels and they're at a rave because that's how my head felt. So I'm going to read a little bit and then speak to you. But this is my heart is mentoring leaders who mentor leaders. And I believe if you're on this call, you want more from your business and therefore more from your life. And so I'm going to speak to that. I know that I love the fact that whether you're in Mary Kay to buy a couch, a sofa, or you want a 6-figure income and a pink Cadillac, all of those define success if you're getting what you want. But I'm specifically because of this climate of this call, I'm going to speak to those of you who want more right now. Okay, so I am just going to jump in and get started. I'm going to tell you a tiny bit about myself just for the process of what I hope to convey to you tonight. But my story, as you can tell, would be long. And most of you probably know it. I have asked many of our leaders upon their decision to move up, to advance their career, to grow their business, this question: are you willing for me to drag you through some pain to get to the pleasure? So my prayer is that with something I share tonight, your answer would be yes to that question. So I want to make you think before I tell you what I'm going to tell you. What is the reason you want to advance in your Mary Kay? You know, we hear a lot of things. You know, financial obviously is usually one of those, but you know, different reasons. So answer that to yourself right now. What is that reason? But I'm going to make you dig deeper. So and you may even want to write this down. Why, whatever reason you gave, ask yourself, why is that important? Why is that reason important? And then write that answer down. You're probably still going to be fairly surfacey, fairly general, fairly even generic. Maybe not. You may have already done this exercise for yourself. But after you do that, ask yourself about what you wrote down. Why is that important? And continue to dig deeper in those self-coaching questions until the answer chokes you up, moves you, or for those of you who are criers, makes you cry. Because that's the real deal. I'm going to tell you a quick story to illustrate that in case it's kind of abstract for you. But I was speaking to actually someone who contacted me from across the country, one of our Go Give directors, and Go Give directors about one of her consultants who was a DIQ. And I asked her that question, and she said, well, financial security. And I said, okay, so financial security might mean one thing to me. It might mean another thing to you. So define that for me. What does that mean? And I was literally asking her these questions with her. And she told me, she told me what she wanted to be able to do to be able to support her family so that her husband could pursue something else if he chose to. And I said, okay, so what does that look like? I mean, I want amounts, but I want to know also what that looks like. So she told me, and I said, okay, so why is that important? She said, well, I just love this career, and, I want him to have something that he loves, all still valid reasons. And she told me that, and I said, okay, so, but why is that important? And she said, well, he really hates his job. And she said, I just really want him to be able to pursue something that he loves. I said, okay, I'm going to ask you one more time. I said, why is that important? And she said, well, my daddy hated his job. They had two kids. They had a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, little bitty kids. And she said, he loved me. I knew he loved me. He worked hard for our family, but he was in a bad mood every single day when he came home. And she got choked up and was trying not to cry. And she said, I don't want my kids to live the life that I lived with their daddy. So that's what I'm talking about. That's the real deal. And the reason it's important to know this is that beauty experience that you just finished today or yesterday, or that coffee shop party that you did on the back of the hands, or that good night party you did, whatever you just did is not the goal. That's not the goal. It's a means to the goal. You may vox your director on the way home and say, oh gosh, I just sold $1,000 and I have booked 3 future beauty experiences and I've got a team member and maybe one more. Those are all amazing, stellar, exciting things to celebrate. But what the real deal is that took you one step closer to your answer to this question. So knowing that, let's look at everything else. Okay, when you keep, as I go through everything, I want you to keep this in mind. This is part of my story. So let's get this out of the way. I was a no makeup wearing, encyclopedia reading, pink hating, shyest person you ever would have met person. I had confidence in only 2 things: my academics. If you heard that I was a 19-year-old college senior, that's because I started college at 16. Don't be impressed. I just had no life. And my faith. So 2 things. I came to Mary Kay with only a mild curiosity, almost proving that it wasn't for me and I would really hate it and be really bad at it. And only a mom would have recruited me. And thank the Lord she was in DIQ because that's the only reason she took me. So stop giving yourself a way out. Stop tapping your foot on the brake. The only people who won't do well at this company, the only people, are people who are abrasive, uncoachable people. Everyone else can learn what is a skill-based business and be excellent at this. So when I get crazy, this is probably more from my future area, about wording or really intense about branding, it's because I had to, because I had so little going for me. And I still choose to embrace that, like, so I don't feel weird. This marketing plan works. So first thought, don't be weird. Don't be complicated. If you feel like in this company, you are a square peg in a round hole, like I did, you are most likely, I would say 99%, maybe 99.9%, comparing yourself to someone else. Stop. Learn the skill, adapt what you observe, and then do a lot of activity in a short period of time. That activity in a short period of time will give you external confidence. Now, external confidence is not the kind of confidence that lasts, but when you gather that and gain that external confidence, then you'll be able to choose confidence and you'll know what it looks like. Okay, so let me give you some tools. The first tool, and I'm not going to number these because I always lose numbers when I do that. So we're just gonna go for it. Whatever, if you want to number them, feel free. The first tool is listen to who is mentoring you. I mean, like a bulldog, like teeth clamped down. Listen to who is mentoring you. Your director or your senior director or your national director is invested and assigned to your vision and your success like no other person. Unsubscribe, press the unsubscribe button on people's opinions and ideas who make your stomach hurt or get you in a frenzy of control or fear or sweat. You don't need another idea. You do not need another idea. I promise you. So if you're in a lot of groups on Facebook, get out of those. Be in your director's group, your nationals group, those groups that are invested in you, because we don't need another idea. The people you listen to and speak into you includes us. Build your attitudes and your self-leadership around the thoughts. And I'm going to share with you two things that impacted me so significantly by a friend of mine, $1 Million Sales Director Leah Nelson, when I was on one of our top director trips. She asked from her 5-minute $1 million moment, what if everything we talked about came true? And it was as if someone had stabbed me in the stomach. Think about that. What if everything we spoke about came true? And then she said, give no evidence to lack. Those two thoughts will help us choose victor over victim every single time. Okay, the next thought, become a planning fiend. Now, if you know me at all, you know that this is kind of one of my deals. It takes less time than you think to move up in this business. In fact, Sean Key, when asked that question by anyone, how much time will it take for me to earn a car? How much time will it take for me to move into a leadership position? Will not answer that question, because it's different for every person, but it's way less about the time and way more about the intentionality with which you spend that time. So I believe in planning. Now, it comes from a place of being the kind of person that when we had only paper profiles would be on the floor of my office and they would stick to my bare feet. So like I was a, like moved by the seat of my pants kind of girl. So it wasn't my nature. But because freedom and choice is that's my basic need profile, I have the most freedom when I'm very intentional about planning. And I do love structure. I just want to be the one that creates it. So I won't even budge on one thing. This is old school. I love heritage of Mary Kay. I love the fact that Mary Kay Ash taught me. And I love marrying the best of who we are now with all the technology, all the millennial thought processes to the best of our heritage. And I will not budge on the weekly plan sheet because it is a different piece of paper than your planner. Yes, I agree. And I'm pretty digital, except I do use a paper planner. But when you can plan your life on that weekly plan sheet, you multiply your time. In fact, you will even have the feeling that time will slow down. You can have any schedule in your other part of your life, any schedule. I will bet money on this and figure out how to make this work. I happen to have been, as Leah said, a single mama. When I was married, I was a mama to 3 teenagers, and then 3 teenagers and a newborn, then 3 college students and a toddler. We've done it all. So I'm a single mama, homeschool mom. I graduated this year. Thank you. Supportive and involved daughter, sister, and aunt. And we have a busy life. So it doesn't matter how many hats you wear or you don't wear. Planning lets you have life proactively instead of reactively. I don't know about y'all, but when I've been, and I experienced this recently, May, June, and July, I slipped into an era of reactive. We just had craziness, and you wake up in the craziness and your habits are gone, and you just, you're swimming, treading water. And I get mad when I'm reactive because it's out of my element. I get to the end of the week and don't know my name, much less what I got done. And it's just not my normal. And so if you've been there, give yourself some grace and stop. I'm going to tell you my secret to planning, and you can just use this. It came from Kathy Goff, now NSD Emeritus, but she taught me how to take July and January and spend, when Riley was little, I didn't spend the night, but she believes you should go somewhere with room service and spend the night. Take your calendar, your catalogs, your computer, your family calendar, your work calendar, in my case, homeschool curriculum. Take everything and plan the next 6 months and get your shopping done. If you need online shopping done, just go and just pile up and get it done. Now, if you're not in a position where you could do that overnight, then find some place where you can be from early to late and do that, July and January. The next thing she said, in April and October, you want to go somewhere for anywhere from 4 to 8 hours. Just find a coffee shop with Wi-Fi or a restaurant that you can just pile up in one of their booths and have some privacy and do the same thing. And then each month, the first, second, or third day of the month, you want to go to a coffee shop for at least a couple hours. Gloria Mayfield Banks says an hour of planning is worth 3 weeks of working. And it just lets you peacefully live your life, and it lets you be in the moment and be excellent in everything you do. So scheduling time to plan, using a Sunday brain dump. Now, that's a really interesting word, but you know what I mean. Some of you, probably most of you, do this. Just taking a spiral notebook and just dumping out everything in your brain that's on there. And then you can take your 6 most important things list from there. Okay, the next thought is attitude and emotional management. I really believe between money management, emotional management, and time management, that's pretty much everything we do. I don't have to tell y'all this, but great books, audiobooks, sermons, podcasts, people you follow or unfollow. It's important to allow yourself to be poured into. And if you're around me much, you're going to hear me say this sentence. If you're going to tell yourself a story, make it a good one, because you will operate as if it's the truth. All those things that you pour into yourself allow yourself to tell you the right story. So if you need to change your story tonight, before you lay your head on your pillow, change your story. Write out a new one, because again, we will believe whatever we tell ourselves. Okay, thoughts to think now that serve you and your vision. This is the first thought. I get the choice to be obsessively intentional now. I kind of have a thing about this. Whoever made obsessive and urgent and intentional and, all of those words that go together, bad words. I mean, Jesus was boldly urgent and intentional. I believe we're supposed to be all up in it. And I'll probably say this again, but I think scripturally, when we are operating in God, family, and career, whatever that looks like, however God interprets that to you and your family and the stage of life you're in, when we're operating there, I believe that we will not run out of energy. It's when we're doing things that are not in that vein that steals our energy. Okay, the next thoughts to think that serve you and your vision. What or who is stealing your energy? I believe that time management is actually energy management. I mean, we all have 24 hours, so it can't really totally be time management. It's how we spend our energy or how we allow our energy to be stolen. It's 99% in our control, either actually or in the way we think about it. We have an amazing leader in our Future Bold area. Her name is Mary, and she is having some life right now. But you know what? She has chosen to think about it in a different way. Significant things that anyone who knows her would give them as an excuse. A daughter who's conquering cancer at the moment. In the middle of that, her dad fell and broke his hip. And she's like, you know what? I stopped. I said, you are doing amazing with your mental energy and your attitude. How is that happening? And she said, I stopped saying what else could happen. She said, because it's just life. And when it comes to us, we deal with it. And it's, to say what else is going to happen invites, disaster. And she said, it's not really disaster. It's just what's happening in our life. And I was like, oh, she should teach attitude management. So think about that. It's 99% what we choose to look at. Next thought, decide to take that planning mechanism from planning to momentum. Strategically plan what you want your momentum to look like. Planning is not work time. It's off time. It is what makes work work. So it's not instead of work, but in addition to. So think about what you want that to look like. I'm probably going to say this again, but another thing that Leah Nelson said in that same speech is we can create momentum in as long as we have 8 hours, 8 days, 8 weeks. Choose 8 hours. She also said, for some reason, in the same 5 minutes, you can start a diet in the middle of a bag of potato chips. Something, I don't even know if she knows how much she struck me. I need to tell her. Next thought, everything truly expands to the time we give it. People used to ask me, and it almost like embarrassed me because I don't know. How do you run a successful business, a huge organization? How do you manage a household as a single mom? How do you homeschool Riley? How do you do all that at the same time? I don't know. We just do it. And planning does make a difference, but it doesn't make us unique. We just do, everyone does what they are dealt with and what they want to do back to our same 24 hours. Okay, next thought. Great with 8, even though it feels like it's a program, is still a promotion, guys. It has a deadline. It is phenomenal. It is the best, purest. It's exactly the way I went through DIQ back in the day. And it is the best, purest way, if you do it correctly, kind of like there's 2 ways to do keto. It's the best, purest way to set yourself up, not just to finish directorship, but to finish directorship as a leader who is multiplying leaders. But it has an end. So I want you to think this thought about that. Don't think just you. Think you can go in now, September 1st, and you can become a director who is then taking DIQs to San Diego. So don't think just for yourself. Think about what you're building. What kind of organization are you building? What do you want to be? At what place do you want to be in when we leave for leadership on January 1st? Do you want to have offsprings of your own? How many DIQs do you want to take with you? So let this promotion, which is a promotion with an end, work for you, not just for yourself, but to multiply what you're building. This is another thought. And this is Pam's deal. If your director says something otherwise, just listen to her, I think. I don't know. I might just override it. If I want you to run, I'm talking like run, Forrest, run from anyone who tells you DIQ is hard. Now, first thing, DIQ is not a position. It is a bridge to what I believe is the best job in the world. So we're not selling you DIQ. We are selling you what it's like to live this life that we get to live as directors and what that looks like. But you want people around you that support your wildest dream coming true. There are people around you, even if it's unknowingly, who it serves for you not to live in excellence, because your excellence is a mirror that will call people up and out. DIQ is a breeze. I want you to repeat after me. DIQ is a breeze. DIQ is a breeze. It's accomplished in about 6 to 8 intentional, powerful, passionate days. Either your first 6 or your last. You get to choose. Okay, so what is work? That's your next thought. Work is, in Mary Kay, in front of a face, exposing people to the product or the career and whatever directly impacts that, sets it up or coaches it. It is not dusting our inventory. Now I'll just use that as an example. I'm sure we don't dust our inventory. It's not on the shelf long enough. But what I mean is fear will talk us into what's called avoidance behavior. So if you find yourself doing something you have no business of doing, then act, because the fear will go away. Next thought. Learn how to multiply everything that you do. I am obsessed. I was so excited when Leah taught us in Pacesetters that, well, she actually taught me that on Voxer before she said in Pacesetters, but I was so excited about her vision for larger parties because I believe obsessively in creating a situation where you can have an average of 10, 12, and 15 as opposed to an average of 3, 4, and 5. You invest the same amount of time for a third of the results, but even more than that, the dynamic that you create creates a machine that will blow your mind. So learn how to multiply everything you do. If you do not own the skill of taking those 3 or 4 or 5 people and turning it into double or triple that, then just build that skill, confirming those guests, multiplying that, and make sure you articulate that and forecast that. Once you create that skill and you have about 4 to 5 group appointments that look like that, that's your new normal. That's what they expect to do and be. And so you've checked that off your list. Then it's just something you do. You think this thought, you are right now, very possibly, instead of selecting your 8 to 10 to 12 founding members of your DIQ team, you are right now very probably hand selecting your first 10 sales directors. Take that thought. Once you create that thought process, think about who you want to look for and what they look like and what qualities you want to draw to you. As we become those qualities, we will draw those people to us. Next thought, volume and action, those 2 words cure almost everything. I started to say everything, but I'm not an always or never girl. But volume and action cure almost everything, especially fear. If you add volume to almost anything, you just watch what happens. I asked Riley if I could use her as an example because about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, she was in a situation emotionally where she was like, I don't even know if this is for me. And I said, well, you know what? It might not be. I've always told her, because people come up to a daughter of a director, and in this case, a granddaughter and a daughter, and say, oh, are you going to be like your mom or your Mimi? And she's always been like, no, I'm going to be like me, which I love. I've raised her to be that way. I don't do cookie cutters. But it does a number on your mind. And I remember thinking, this is not for me. I'm a square peg in a round hole. I don't even like sequins. The expo is one of my favorite things about seminar because I'm a nerd. But you know what? There's a place for everyone. And so I said, we don't do Mary Kay because we have to. We do Mary Kay because we choose to. I care that you do something, whether it's this or an entrepreneurial venture of your own that uses your gifting, lets you always remember whose you are and who you are, and lets you raise your babies if you want to. So if you're going to quit, you're going to quit a winner. And then she went upstairs and put up her product and was doing some things, and then suddenly she became a different person. I said, what happened? And she said, I got busy. I thought, why wouldn't I do this? And then she got busy and started booking appointments and started holding those appointments, started adding team members, and that action and that volume created a passion that was not only not existent, it was probably non-existent. And it was just a classic example of even someone that's in my house that's grown up around Mary Kay, that it is her normal, that those principles never fail you. Riley just also retaught me something. This is another thought. Don't just imagine the end. Visualize the process, the win and the work that gets you to that end. Because I was talking about, visualize, and she made her vision board. That was actually what happened. That day she made her vision board and put some product up that had come in. And that is what started her thinking. So again, principles that are pure. And she said, Mom, I don't want to just visualize when it's done. I want to visualize what I'm doing to make it done. And I said to Leah before we went on air, I said, it's challenging me in a good way because it's making me think, why do I say this? Why do I do this? Is this just an ism that I throw out abstractly, or is this something that I'm operating and believing and implementing and speaking into my career? Okay, next thought, narrow your focus. You probably heard Linda Tupin say, and I adopted that many, many years ago, but if it doesn't bring me closer to the Lord, bring me closer to my family and my friends I call family, bring me joy or make me money, we pretty much don't do it around here. So what does that look like to you? Just narrow down your focus. You can, Callie Brigham says this, you can have it all. You just cannot be it all. Next thought, collect people and experiences, not things. One of my closest friends, Kelly Brock, who's probably watching or will be, became my friend because I creeped on her. She'll say it's just because we love each other, and we do. We sometimes share the same brain, but I creeped on her. That's how. Okay, so I don't know why this is randomly put in here. I'm just going to say it. Don't be weird on social media. Y'all know those people? We are not those people. Don't be weird. Let social media, I love social media. I'm an expert at the unfollow button. I will tell you this, it's not a judgment call. I love people. God loves people. But if someone is griping and complaining or pitching a fit, as we say in the South, on Facebook, unfollow immediately. I don't delete them. I just love them from afar. But that way my news feed is happy, happy, happy. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is how we roll. This is kind of how we roll in the bold area. Principles that I believe will rock your world if you will let them. And maybe just adapt them as your own. You can just borrow bold. The first one is you truly can create momentum, just like I said, in 8 hours, 8 days, 8 weeks, but we're choosing 8 hours. The second one, serving a minimum. This is a principle we talk a lot about in our future area. But serving a minimum will always stop you in your tracks. So this is something you want to avoid. Now, what do I mean by that? For example, if I said, okay, you can go on target for your car when you have 5 active team members and you create 5,000 in production. Well, that's the truth. But I will tell you the powerful way to earn a car is to be intentional about the amount of group appointments you want to hold in a short period of time and intentional about the people you want to expose to the company and select for your founding members. And as a byproduct, as they make decisions about their business and you create clients that are raving fans, as Kelly Brock says, you will create way more than 5,000. If you try to create production, that 5,000, you will almost always miss it. There will be probably 1 car you actually earn. The rest will be earned as a byproduct of you going for a greater vision. I hope that makes sense because I believe that this is a principle that will truly change everything. And if you go for a minimum, even if the minimum is big, 20,000 can be a minimum as a director, a trip could be a minimum. There's prosperity. There's poverty and prosperity depending on your mindset. So just make sure you are not serving a number is usually the minimum. Don't serve that. Let that happen as a byproduct, and you will have much bigger results, much bigger income, and much bigger just the dynamic of what you create. Okay, next roll, how we roll. The concept of exposure. You will hear me say this word over and over and over again. We believe in exposing people, that word, to the product and the company. In our company, our culture is made up of, yes, we sell. It's just as noble to sell as it is to buy. Remember that thought. We do not go door to door. We do not blast 12 posts every 2 milliseconds on social media. We do represent a product, and the way we represent that product is we show that product and allow someone the opportunity to buy it from us. Women will buy, but we won't be sold. The same thing with the company. We present our company in a powerful manner that allows people to engage with who we are and what we're doing and allows them to say yes. And I believe that God hand selects our yeses in our client base and our team. We just have to show up with enough activity for him to reveal those yeses. So that exposure concept has changed everything about the way we team build specifically, but everything we do. Our questions that we ask ourselves in the Future Bold area are, do I like her? If I had to hang out with her, would I want to? If someone else recruited her, walked into my success event this week with her on their arm, would I be sick about it because I knew her and I didn't ask her? Sick about it. Try to be happy for her, but oh my goodness, sick about it. And is she someone that if you scaled confidence 1 to 10, is she about a 7? You can tell by what they post on social media. You can tell by being in her presence, but that's kind of your target market. Now, that does not give us permission to prejudge. My mom says often, Jesus saves, Mary Kay doesn't. But it does give us permission to hand select the qualities that we're looking for as we build and put together a powerful team. Next tool, the multiplying principle. This will rock your world. Multiplying principle happens to start with learning how to do larger parties, but it also is in the languaging that we use for our new team members. It is pretty much normal in the Future Bold area when we're sitting with someone and they say yes and they pop that button and buy their starter kit, for us to say to them, okay, so I want you to think this thought. We can celebrate your very first promotion today, maybe right now, but definitely by midnight. Who in your life are your, like, I call them my girls, people that you can just say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but Pam's going to teach us, and it's $100 for a starter kit. Come do this with me. Let's be a powerful team. Who are those people? What do you need from me to support your conversation with them and the products that you want to show them? What do you need from me? And they can celebrate that promotion by midnight. And then when they do, you can say, you know what? By the weekend, we can have your second promotion. That is the multiplying principle. When that becomes the norm in your area, the word you will hear will be triple. It will triple everything. And it also makes her stronger and not as scared because she's doing it with a buddy. And then therefore you're doing that with that new team member and then her new team member. And truly it creates exponential growth. Okay. This is the last tool. This is the pain part to increase your confidence. If I said to you right now, and I've said this to many of our leaders, if I scaled confidence on 1 to 10, where would you say your confidence in Mary Kay is right now? And if one of our leaders might have said a 7. Actually, I'll use her as an example. She said a 7, and she was really shy like I was, like we couldn't order a pizza on the phone. And I said, well, our vision is to get you to a 10. You need to be at a 10 or above. And I thought for a minute, I was praying as I was speaking. Okay, what do I say? And I said, if I can tell you that doing something is going to create that confidence, are you willing to allow me to drag you through some pain to get you to the pleasure? The same question I asked each of you at the beginning of this. And she thought a second, just really quickly, and said yes. She said in her mind, she thought I was going to tell her to do 5 parties, group appointments. We call them group appointments or beauty experiences. And I said 10. I only know the Lord told me to say 10. That's all I know. I think everything is organic at that point. And I said, if you can schedule and hold 10 groups of any kind in a 14-day period, 21 would be okay, but 14 is going to rock your world. I don't care if you're sitting with 6 people at a coffee shop and you're showing some things on the back of the hand. I don't care if it's a good night party. I don't care if it's after school, meeting some teachers. She was a teacher. I don't care what it is, as long as they're groups, because groups create a different dynamic. When you finish that, because it's in a short period of time, you're going to sell product out the wazoo. You're going to recruit people. You're going to book future appointments. But the bigger deal is you're going to create that confidence. And she did it. She did it in 15 days. The 10th one canceled on her as she was driving down the driveway on the 14th day. And her husband was like, oh, no. And so she did the 10th one on the 15th. And I asked her, of course, I knew what she was selling. I knew who she was recruiting. I said, so how is your confidence right now on a scale of 1 to 10? She said, it's at least an 11 or 12. And I said, that's all you needed. Now you can choose that confidence. And from then on, she found her founding 10 members of her DIQ team from those 10 group appointments. So that is the pain part. What's the line you've been standing behind? What's the one thing you've been yet unwilling to do? I'm going to tell you a story to close out. And I at the risk of you thinking this is our story, Riley was here. I was thinking, she's gone now, but I was thinking she would be here for the story. I can hardly tell it without crying, but I'm going to try really hard because I do not cry cute. I'm not one of those people. It's ugly. It's a chapter in our story, but to me, it significantly colored our perspective. When Riley was 9, she became extremely ill. From a child who had never been ill at all, who had never had an ear infection, just dramatic. In the 4th grade, she was in the 4th grade. We had test after test. They tested her for cystic fibrosis. They tested her for diabetes several times, all sorts of intestinal things. I mean, they tested her for everything under the sun, and she was still sick. Ended up in the hospital 3 or 4 times, missed like a bazillion days of school. Thank goodness we were at a private school. We were doing homework and schoolwork with an IV and in the hospital. And as a single mom, and a lot of how it manifested were repeated pneumonias. My mama has leukemia. She does amazing. She probably wouldn't want me to say that. She's sitting right here. But So don't be like, oh, she does great. It's fine. But leukemia significantly cannot fight pneumonia. So mom couldn't help me. No one could help me. And she couldn't be around her. And so we were just rocking it on our own. Well, at one point, about 6 months into that, Riley is in recovery, by the way. I always forget. And people are like, oh my gosh. She got sick from mold, toxic mold, and almost died. So I know way more about mold and homeschooling than I ever planned to, but God has a plan. So I was sitting in the hospital. It was actually the week after Christmas. We went in the Christmas Day or the day after, and I was piled up with my hoodie. I basically had to watch her breathe for almost a year because we didn't know why, it was happening. And so they would just have me set my alarm every 15 minutes. And, it was low staffed because it was at Christmas time. And I was in my hoodie and had my laptop and thought, well, I'll get some work done in between, alarms. This is probably about midnight. And I was watching her breathe. I was looking at the IV and just looking at the monitor. And I have always been self-employed. And Riley was brought to me, just as Leah mentioned, when she was 3 days old, brought to our family, actually, through the wonderful blessing and miracle of adoption. I'd always wanted to be a mama. And so I've always had the privilege of staying home with her. And so I just didn't have a different frame of reference. You know how you're just doing the only thing you know to do. Gratefully, I worked for myself so I could rearrange everything I was doing, figuring out not if I could do something, but how can I do this? So I looked at her and I thought, oh my gosh. And so I texted a friend of mine, a director friend of mine, Larissa Fair, and because I knew she would be up. And I said, hey, are you up? And she said, yeah. And so she picked up the phone and called me and she said, what? I said, well, I'm sitting in the hospital. She said, yeah, I know that. Are you okay? Is she okay? I said, yeah, we're the same thing. We're good. But I just had the thought, like, what do other mamas do? I mean, this has been going on since September, and then it ended up we didn't get a diagnosis till the next September. And I said, what do they do? And she paused and she said, they lose their jobs or they don't get to watch their babies breathe. And at that moment, I was so significantly impacted by that thought that I never wanted a mama to ever have to make that choice. I made a 6-figure income and it dipped, but it did not dip under 6 figures. It dipped about 8,000 that year. Well, y'all, that's not really a dip. And that was in the process of me figuring out what it looked like to do it differently. And I just determined that we don't know what tomorrow holds. This is the breath we have right here. I was able to support that process and navigate that and still take her to specialists. At first we went every week in Dallas, which is about 4 hours one way for us. And we go about 8 or 10 times a year still. And I was able to do that because of Mary Kay. And so I'm passionate about women having choices. We never know what tomorrow holds. We never know what circumstance we're going to be in. This is the last thing I'll leave you with. Be you. Unapologetically swim in your own lane, remaining coachable and hungry to become. Don't take a year to fix what you can fix in a moment of decision and simply shake it out of your fingertips. Our paycheck in Mary Kay will always be in direct proportion to our willingness to choose to grow spiritually and personally. Be willing to do that one thing we talked about, that one thing we've yet been unwilling to do, that line in the sand we've drawn. Step across it. It's the key that unlocks your future. Our children, or the children in your life, will become 4 to 5 times of who we are, not who we want them to be. I am passionate, as I said, about serving people in this career where they are, whether they want a sofa like I talked about in the beginning or a 6-figure income. And I'm especially passionate that this life is not a dress rehearsal. My daddy used to say there are no U-Hauls behind hearses. This is a place where everything you are, your unique gifting and your talents, can be seamlessly transferred to a leadership career in Mary Kay. And as my mama says, don't exist through a life that someone else designed for you. Instead, design your own and live through that one. I've never had to sacrifice anything or anyone I hold dear to do what I do. And I pray that today, you decide that you have more prepared for you than you could ever possibly pray for or imagine as you put yourself into an obedience position to watch God blow your mind.
Pam, you took us home. Took us home. It was so awesome. Thank you. I want to share some of my ahas with you. First of all, thank you for just being transparent, honest. Velvet hammer. I get called that a lot, but you're also a velvet hammer, and I appreciate that so much. That's maybe why it resonates so well with me. Couple things that stood out to me is listen to who is mentoring you, and that is so true. I tell a story to the directors all the time about how when I became a new director, I let someone crush crush my dreams and um crush, I guess, the discipline habits that I had created because they gave me a new thought that was a negative thought. And so I think one of the most valuable pieces of advice that we get in Mary Kay is never take advice from someone who you wouldn't trade places with. And I think that that's not just in Mary Kay. I think that's also in life, like how they do their life,
Mhm.
how they live outside of Mary Kay and inside of Mary Kay. And so be very, very careful about where you take that mentorship from. What if everything we spoke came true? Ah, what a great reminder. That smacked me in the face. I needed to hear that. But it's so true. We can be negative about what seems like the smallest things, but those have such an impact on our day to day habits and our results. And we have to be careful about what we say. Narrow your focus. Narrow your focus. And I was cracking up about the weekly plan sheet because I just was telling my area that this last month, for the first time in however many years, I've had to go back to that weekly plan sheet. Like, I've always taught it, and there was a season where I used it, but then I was like, I have this down. And now that I have 3 kids and the homeschooling and all that stuff, I'm like, I need my weekly plan sheet. And so I literally went through and figured out, okay, where each week am I going to work 30 hours on top of doing everything that's important to me. But the amazing, Pam, is that when you write it out, you find that there's time. And I didn't feel overwhelmed anymore. I felt like I can get this in.
Mhm.
Um, and then thank you for reminding us that Great with 8 is a promotion and not like a permanent change to the program. And you guys start with 8. I mean, it's like they're giving you a head start towards an incredible life of being a sales director. And finally, thank you for being transparent about Riley and your story. I mean, I was sitting here just about ready to bawl my eyes out because there have been situations with my kids where I've said that. I remember when Kennedy was born, she had a lot of minor health issues, but that insurance wouldn't pay for right away. And so we had to pay up front before they would see her. And I remember after probably writing about $8,000 worth of checks, telling Cody, oh my gosh, like, how do people outside of Mary Kay do this? Like, if it were not for Mary Kay, we would not be able to get her treated. And I remember it just broke my heart. But I was also so grateful because it's so true. You don't, 20-year-old Leah wasn't thinking, 9 years down the road when I was going to have Kennedy and need that as an option. And so thank you for sharing that. And I think also something you didn't say that I want to add is that, insurance only covers so much. And so when you're at a position like you are in Mary Kay, you can do outside things. You can do holistic things. You can go to specialists. You can go to doctors. You have that flexibility. And I think people don't think about, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, is there going to be a situation where it's literally my baby's life, her health, his health, or your parents, or someone where you might need something that maybe isn't traditional or whatever.
Right. None of it was covered.
Okay, so you had to pay cash for it. So I mean, like, that right there is perfect, y'all. It's perfect. So keep that in mind. And I'm not saying that to be negative or speak, anything, but there's no guarantee with life. We do not know what's going to be thrown our way. And I'm so grateful, Pam, that you and I are in an environment where we are equipped. Like, I will tell you that something that's different about our brains in Mary Kay is that when the storm hits, we never have the dominant thought of, oh my gosh, we're never going to make it. Our dominant thought is, okay, how can I make this work?
Right.
And that's powerful, you guys. That's so powerful to have that as an option because most people don't have that as an option. And for that, I'm super grateful. And then, of course, I love that you focused on experiences and not things because that's like our family motto. So I just love you to pieces. Okay, are you ready for what have I been calling it? The fireball round?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready. I'd be ready after hearing it so many times.
I know. Okay. All right. So whatever I'm calling it. What would be 1 to 2 books over your span of your Mary Kay career that really made a significant impact on you?
I didn't even prepare for that one because I'm a self-confessed bookaholic. You and I are information junkies. So I'll go with one old school and one recent.
Okay.
One old school is a John Eldredge book called Walking with God. Well, actually, there's 2 that he wrote that are companions, Walking with God and Waking the Dead. And they significantly impacted my walk. And I mean, I can't even, it's just significant. And then The Circle Maker by Battersea.
Yes. Okay, I haven't read the other two, so I'm going to check those out.
They're awesome.
And then Circle Maker I've read before, but I'm going to check those other two out. I haven't heard of them, so I'm excited. New books to add to my pile.
No.
Hey, and a little book tip that I want to give you all that I implemented in this last year is we do homeschool, and I was buying all these books off of Amazon, and then I realized that my local library, which we live in this little tiny town of 7,000 people, but my library has this like borrow program where I can go online, almost like I'm on Amazon, and I can order books, and they take from like 10 of the Dallas area libraries, and they just deliver it to me, and it's all free, and it's amazing. And so anyway, my book tip to you is that I started, instead of buying these books on Amazon, I rent them from the library. Not, you don't rent from the library, borrow from the library.
Yes.
And
check out whatever that is. Yes.
And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is that not only does it save you money, but it puts a fire under my butt to get these books read because I have to take them back. And so that's like my new system now. I am going through so many more books because I'm adding like another 10 minutes on at night before I go to bed. That's when I always read, is at night when I'm in bed. Or I'm listening to audiobooks, which I have Audible, so I get a credit each month. So that's my little tip for you. Library books. Okay. Second question is, you're stranded on an island. You can only have one Mary Kay product. What is it?
I love Mary Kay product. Oil-free hydrating gel.
You would need that on an island. I could see that.
I am obsessed with oil-free hydrating gel.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I love that during the winter because I get super dry. Okay, most embarrassing Mary Kay moment.
You know, like I told you before we went on air, there have been so many. So I'm going to take y'all back to the very first one. I literally did not speak out loud. Like, I could not order pizza on the phone. My brother was outgoing. We grew up military, and you're either outgoing or super shy. So for me to start this it was painful. And I was living at home still. I was in college living at home, and I had a skincare class, and I had memorized it, like word for word, because I just had the cold sweats. I think I probably had hives. And it was with, they are still all using Mary Kay today, these people, only because of the product, not because of me. So I got to a point and I went completely blank. And Mom had one of those, doors, like swinging doors. And I just had to run in the other room and had to lean down and whisper to myself until I got to that point, and then like run back in the room. And the same party, they had to call me back and ask if they could buy something. They're like, "Are you going to actually sell this?" And I'm like, "Yes." I was so happy to get through it. And they said, "Well, we want the basic skincare." Awesome. Okay, great. No. Wait. Can we buy something else? So, yeah. You can be a national sales director.
You absolutely can. I love that. Okay. If Mary Kay were alive today, what would she want us to know?
I can still see her standing in front of that DIQ class, my new director class, in heels for 4 hours teaching us. And one of the last things she said, and I had it on my wall for forever, was, and this is relative to even consultants, because you can take it all the way down, but she said, "Build the people, and the people will build the unit." And I just think she would have the gift of welcoming people as they are, and in the same breath, challenging them to be the best of who she knew they could be. And I think that's what she would say.
I love that. And I love that you had the opportunity to be mentored by her. That was one of my biggest regrets, was I never got to meet her in person. I've met her through tons of audio recordings and nationals, but never in person.
That was Riley's favorite thing about seminar, Mary Kay clips.
Yeah, for sure. I just loved how witty she was. Like,
I know.
I can't even imagine. Like, she just was just
so quick.
So cool. Like, that is a gift. That is such a gift. Okay, what is currently on your goal poster?
All of the pictures of all of the faces of our current leaders and people who want to be one of our directors, and it says bold everywhere. And my goal poster is one entire back of a door that I see the minute I get up and the minute I go to sleep.
I love it. It's got to be somewhere you can see all the time. I ended up printing out multiple ones this year because I'm everywhere. So I'm all over the place. So my bathroom mirror, there's one in my office, everywhere. You and I, Friday night, we decided to get tattoos. What word do you tattoo? into your body. Or
oh my gosh, I've thought, I avoid pain at all costs. So, but if I did a word, if I did a phrase, it would be beautiful girl, you can do hard things. And I would do one of those tiny little things. But if I did a word, I would do grace, because it's Riley's middle name. And because when I think about the word grace, I think about all the miracles God made of all the massacres I created. So, yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. Well, we both have the commonality of grace. So maybe like on a national trip.
Maybe so.
Germany, we'll go get matching tattoos. My husband can never.
Oh, you'd be so happy. He can blame it on me.
Oh my goodness. Well, Pam, gosh, I'm sad to close this out because it's our last one, but I will say there's going to definitely be one next summer. We have to do one next summer because this was so good. And next time when we talk to you on a summer camp, you'll be a national cell instructor, which is so exciting. So thank you for being a part of my life. Thank you so much for being on this hangout tonight and just pouring your guts out to us. It was so awesome. Our feed on my other computer has been blowing up with just so many amens. Go Pam, yes, preach. So thank you for that. We just so appreciate it. And y'all, I just want to say as we close this out, don't ever stop pouring into yourself. For many of you, your fall retreat is coming up. If you're in Go Give, you're more than welcome to come to my fall retreat if you don't have one to plug into. But stay plugged in. That was one of the best things I ever did in my business, was always stay plugged in, because I knew that if I was around the giants in Mary Kay, that one day I would be one of the giants. And I'm still not there yet. So I still surround myself with the giants in Mary Kay. And so, who is breathing that belief into you and who is showing you the way. And so just know, we're a sisterhood and you don't have to do this alone. Like, you have a tribe that you can plug into. And so I want to really encourage you to go to your fall advance this year. And if you need somewhere to start, you guys, it comes with the starter kit. You just pick it up and start tomorrow. The greatest enemy of success is the word, not now or tomorrow. And so tonight, before you go to bed, brainstorm, who am I going to reach out to? Who do I need to follow up with? What's my first step? And just think of the one thing. Don't overwhelm yourself with some big plan. Think of the one thing that's going to get you in the direction that you need to head to make this a reality. All right, you guys, have an awesome start to school, and we will talk to you later.